Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for tuning into this Your Overseas Home webinar, where we're focusing on buying and owning a home in the Alps. My name is Richard Way, a member of the Your Overseas Home team, and I'm hosting this session. It's great to have you all with us, whether you're watching live or catching up on demand. So this is being recorded and will be available after this on the Your Overseas Home on demand webpage. It might be summer at the moment, or at least trying to be here in the UK, but actually now is as good a time as ever to start the process of finding and hopefully buying a property in the Alps. Gives you time to buy somewhere so you're ready for the upcoming ski season. And if you do get the keys before then, well, the mountains and the Alpine resorts are just as enjoyable places to be when there is no snow for lots of reasons. So here to tell us why and ply us with valuable nuggets about the property market in the Alps, because it is a bit of a micro market. It's not like your more conventional property markets, given its location and seasonality. So give us information on that, as well as the ins and outs of actually buying and owning an Alpine property, is Mark Lightfoot. Mark, who loves nothing more than shushing through fresh powder, is a ski property expert. He's been involved in marketing, promoting and helping ski buyers of ski property for at least a decade now. And he's here on the team to share all his knowledge with us. So hi Mark, thank you for joining us. You can hear us okay?
Thank you very much.
Right. We've got about 45 minutes for this session. Mark's going to do a presentation, but then we welcome questions. We want to get people involved as much as we can. So if you do have a question, you can use the questions tool that you should see on your dashboard. If you just type it in there, and then I shall field it to Mark. I've got a few questions I might throw into the mix as well a bit later on. So that's enough from me. Let's hear from the man with the knowledge. That is Mark. The floor is yours. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks very much, Richard. Yeah, just to give you some background, I've been doing real estate for 25 years, not always in the Alps, but all across the world. And I've been working in the ski industry for the past 10 years. At the moment, I'm doing your overseas home ski expert function. So what I want to do, I just want to go through a presentation with you from Piste to Profit, the smart guide to buying in the Alps. Maybe it'll answer a lot of the questions that you have. And maybe not. So if it doesn't, then please feel free to ask me any questions along the way. So as I said, from Piste to Profit, the smart guide to buying in the Alps, it's really where the market is, where the appreciation is, where are the buyers coming from, a little bit of the ownership, but feel free to ask me anything afterwards if you wanted to. So we basically want to start with price appreciation in the French Alps and what this means for buyers. I will kind of go through a little bit of what we're kind of talking about here, but I will, if you can't read it, I will read a little bit to you. The French Alps have long been a prized location for second homes and property investment. In recent years, the region has seen a steady and sometimes sharp price appreciation, particularly in popular resorts such as Chamonix, Maribel, Val d'Isère and Courchevel, which I'd probably consider the more flagship resorts, but there is obviously opportunity everywhere else. But I would have thought that those and some others are probably the most well-known resorts. If anyone's kind of been to a ski resort, the thing that I like to highlight with people is that there is a limited amount of land, and a lot of these places, essentially places like Maribel and Val d'Isère and Courchevel, don't really have a lot of land left. There is a limited supply and there is a high demand. Strict building regulations and limited land availability restrict new developments. This high demand has always been the case, and we'll kind of touch on it later, but post-COVID, there's a lot of demand for people wanting to be in the mountains, and these resorts that are kind of synonymous with the Alps, the likes of Chamonix, Maribel, Val d'Isère and Courchevel, always attract a lot of attention. What people tend to not understand is that there isn't a surplus of property available. It's very limited. So in terms of turnover, where there is high demand, the owners tend to push their prices up as the new wave of buyers come in, or if there are new developments, land purchase is a little bit higher, building costs are a little bit higher, price per square meter is a little bit higher, which pushes everyone's price up. There is an increased international interest. Buyers from the UK, increasingly the Middle East and Asia, are fueling demand with an increasing number of expats moving abroad but still wanting a ski home. I lived in Asia for around 15 years in Thailand and Indonesia, and fortunately we got to ski in Japan quite a lot. This doesn't exactly reflect on France, but I think it will, where you had, for example, skiing in Niseko in Japan, you had a lot of Thai buyers, but it was very early in the infancy, and now it is moving to a lot of Thai buyers. I think one development that was at the bottom of the slopes in Niseko near the nursery was 50% purchased by Thai buyers, and I think that once they've kind of got used to Japan, it will then translate into Europe. A lot of expats in Hong Kong, Singapore, and now, obviously, as the world knows, a lot of expats and money in Dubai. The last buyers that we've had through us have been from Dubai. This is less than the UK. UK used to be the front runner for all, and it still is, but there is definitely more of a spread of where these buyers are coming from. Improved accessibility, enhanced transport links, including high-speed trains, regional airports, makes it Alps more reachable than ever. We did actually do some webinars recently on the new train from Paris to Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne, which is going to cut something like 3 hours off the time from Paris to the Alps. So things like that are making it really accessible for people to access the Alps at the moment. So another reason. And obviously, one that has been going, I'd say, for the past 20 years, 15 years, dual season resorts are benefiting buyers by taking the risk out of solely dependent ski season and increasing ROI for investment. Predominantly, the ski season has been subject to just 16 to 20 weeks a year, but now, because of the discussions for climate change, people wanting high altitude resorts, owners are asking for it and resorts are asking for it as well. That the summer season has come to fruition a little bit, so there's a kind of a plethora of activities to choose from, but it also adds an extra 8 to 10 weeks on the ROI in terms of an investment for a ski property. So as we move on, implications for buyers, there is, through all the things that I've obviously just discussed, there is higher entry costs. Premium resorts are seeing price per square meter rates exceeding €20,000 in prime spots. I think, like all over the world, kind of people think that they get to the highest price per square meter and then it goes up by another 10%. So it is reasonably expensive to get into some of the well-known resorts, but there is still opportunity around. I think there's something like 250 resorts, but as I said, the flagship resorts tend to dominate a lot of the discussions, but there are still a lot of opportunities around, which I can show you a bit later. Capital growth potential. While entry prices are higher, long-term appreciation makes properties attractive as investment vehicles. As I said, the Alps has always been a lot in high demand, in which case, with the lack of land or new developments in these prime spots, there is still a big demand for it. We've seen in Maribel recently, where there was about 2 years ago, so the price was around 20,000 square meter. I think you could easily achieve 40 to 45,000 square meter in Maribel now. So these prices are going up because there's a lot of money with the wealthy, and they are looking at these places because they are unique. Early investment advantage. Emerging resorts such as Aurel and Atoussier offer more accessible pricing with upside potentials. They're still relatively unknown resorts. So amongst the Alps, as I said, with all these resorts, these more flagship resorts, there is still opportunity in places like Orel. Orel is on the right-hand side of the three valleys, so almost like the fourth valley, so access to the largest ski area in the world. But the cable car that kind of goes up to access over to Val Thorens, you can probably still find some property there around 9,000 euros a square meter, whereas in Courchevel, Maribel, as I said, probably in excess of 30,000 euros a square meter. So there is still some opportunity around. La Toussière is part of the Les Cibelles ski area, and that was where I said the train was going into from Paris. So that is the fourth or fifth largest ski area in France. And yet relatively unknown. Again, you could probably get in there something between 8,000 and 9,000 euros a square meter into a huge ski area at 310 kilometers. So there is still opportunity around for people. I see you frantically writing something there, Richard. I feel like I'm going to get a question about that.
Oh yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, so this is thanks to our friends at Knight Frank. They do a report each year. So if you are interested in downloading the ski report, I think Knight Frank and Savills do a really good ski report. They're a little bit, you have to take things with a pinch of salt because they're subject to the stuff that they have on their site, not for everything that sells, because that's not possible to do. But it does give you a really good indication of the average price per square meter. This was in 2024. Obviously, we'll get the new one this year. But you can see at the front runners at the top, places like Stade, Saint-Moritz, Courchevel, Verbier, Zermatt, Val d'Isère, Cloisters, Kitzbühel, and so forth. Maribel, Courchevel, Megève. What's interesting is that these are all. This, I think, for everyone's dream, this is where people kind of want to be. But even in these places, there is appreciation happening. People kind of feel like they get in so expensive and they might be priced out a little bit, but these areas still hold so much demand. I always kind of think with Maribel as a really good example. If you've ever been to Maribel, it's kind of shaped like a bit of a pizza. So it's kind of like a wiggly road all up to the top. So there's not a lot of properties there, very limited kind of ski in, ski out, not a lot of properties. And yet it's at the center of the largest ski area in the world. At 600 kilometers apiece, it's known around the world, so you're always going to have a bit of a premium price to get in there, and yet there are still people wanting to buy there. This year especially has seen some incredible sales in Maribel. So whenever kind of people think that they've got to the point of it's not going to go any higher, it does always seem to creep up a little bit. The quality of properties in France is generally quite good. The views are amazing. We can kind of touch on that a little bit later, but there is a lot of appreciation in the French Alps for these kind of type of resorts. They're always in demand. We've seen it through our site that there is plenty of inquiries, and we are just a portion of the ski industry. So I imagine on everyone's site there's a lot of inquiries, a lot of sales going through to find these properties that meet people's criteria. Here, actually, just on this one, just quickly, as I wanted to say before, you can see here that Courchevel 1850s around 30,000 square meters. That doesn't mean to say that there aren't some properties that are a lot more expensive than that. As you can see, about 16,000 to 18,000. As I said, this season, there's some. Oh, we had a little bit of connection. Okay, we're back. Yeah, so it's best to kind of speak to the expert about the properties, because a lot of these things are defined by locations within the resorts in terms of the absolute premium, and we will speak a bit about that later. So as we're moving on, what to know about the buying process? There's legal and financial considerations. This is quite an interesting one, actually, just to start with. So foreign buyer friendly. Typically, as I said, even when we're talking about Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong, there's a lot of UK expats in that scenario. and obviously there's a great demand from the UK. Italy and France has no restrictions on foreign ownership, so anyone that's looking in the UK or around the world, it's no problem to buy in France and Italy. Switzerland and Austria, very different. I won't go into the depths or the details. There's plenty of stuff online that you can find out about the restrictions in Switzerland and in Austria. There are a few pockets, resorts like Andermatt in Switzerland, where you can own as a foreigner, and they allow all foreign ownership in Andermatt, which actually makes for a pretty good place to invest. Recently, there's been a lot of Americans that are investing in Andermatt, so that does kind of widen the scope a little bit. So it's a good place to invest. Austria, I think Seefeld might be the same. I'm not 100% sure on that actually. But as I said, very limited opportunity in Switzerland and Austria. We do have a lot of buyers that want to be in Switzerland and Austria that sometimes default to France and Italy just because the selection and the ownership is a lot less restrictions. So even if you're looking for Switzerland, sometimes they go to Chamonix and then they can just drive round to Switzerland rather than actually owning in Switzerland. Italy at the moment has some tax advantages, so there is a few people that are buying in Italy, especially for the wealthy. Notary fees, this is particular to France. If you buy, again, I won't go into great detail, we can discuss it on another webinar, but basic costs for property in France, if you're looking for a new build property that's less than 5 years old, so new build up to less than 5 years old, the notary fees and everything are between 2 and 2.5%. And a resale unit is usually between 7 and 8 or 7 and 9%. So that can be a real difference in spend. If you're looking at, let's say, easy maths, if you're looking at a property that's €1 million, the difference is that you pay 20 to 25,000 in notary fees, or you pay 70 to 80,000 in notary fees, which can be a significant difference. But this is all subject to what you desire from your ski property anyway. Financing, which is obviously fundamentally important for the French Alps. French banks offer mortgages to non-residents, though a higher deposit, typically 20 to 30% is often required, sometimes up to 40. We do have some people that we work with that are kind of like mortgage brokers that can kind of find different deals with banks, but typically you have to put down quite a large deposit to be able to get a mortgage in France. But whether you can afford it or not, some people like to do it anyway, so they don't have to spend their own money and they can spend someone else's. Buyers should understand property tax, residency tax through the latter may be exempt if not used as a main residence. What I say about these kind of things, just before we kind of move on, if you are considering buying a ski property, it's advisable to speak to a notaire, to speak to a mortgage advisor, sort out anything in regards to the tax before you start looking at the properties. It's very, very common for people to find the property they want, then they have to work backwards, and then 2 weeks later they want to make an offer on the property because everything has then been approved and the property is already sold. So as I say to everyone, get your ducks in order before you start moving forward. It allows you to then actually move forward with the property that you want to move forward with, so there are no problems in terms of obtaining a mortgage or tax problems or notaires in terms of setting up companies or own name, etc., etc. Getting the most out of your property to maximize profits. So this is basically through the 10 years of speaking to people, and actually I worked in the ski industry when I was a lot younger, selling ski holidays to people, which was super fun, but it actually gave me a good basis for kind of what we do now. Tips to maximize profits. This is generally through properties of capital appreciation. ROI, once you work out ROI versus your how much you're spending on the property, this is always going to be a variable, because it depends how much you can rent it out and how much obviously you paid for it. But as a kind of rule of thumb, the demand at the moment is that anyone is looking for a dual season resort. It's almost like fundamental now in terms of I don't know anyone recently that has asked for anything other than a dual season resort. The ski season is changing, as we kind of expressed earlier, where it's not subject to the 16 to 20 weeks. Some people we've actually sold to recently don't even want to use their property in the ski season. They only want to use it in the summer and then maximize their ROI on the winter season, where the prices are still very, very high. So properties in resorts like Chamonix, Morzine, Leger perform very, very well all year round. Not just exclusively those three, but anyone that's got a good dual season activities is pretty much the basis for anyone's investment. Somewhere like Chamonix and Morzine are Chamonix has 30% more tourism in the summer than it does in the winter. It's more of a town than it is a ski resort. And Morzine, I wouldn't have thought is too far off because of the activities in the summer. So if you are looking to invest to maximize profits, a dual season resort is of fundamental importance. Location. Ski and ski out access or central village proximity boosts desirability and profit. I couldn't give you an exact number on this, but the majority of people want ski and ski out. If it's not ski and ski out, they want to be able to access these slopes very, very easily. When I worked, as I said before, when I worked in the ski industry a long time ago and people were going on holidays, no one asked to be by a bus stop with a 15 minutes journey. That was never the case. Everyone wants to be as close as they can to the skiing. Obviously, for that, you pay a little bit of a premium. A price per square meter is a little bit more expensive. But for me, I would obviously use that as a very good reference. If you're looking to sell quickly or have a liquid asset, that's the desire of most people. It works for a lot of people, especially families. Being a dad myself, you know, walking along with your son or daughter's ski boots and skis, you never want to be too far from a chairlift or the slopes. Yeah, so ski and ski out is of primary importance, and a dual season. And then the other amenities that people desire, and it does make it a little bit more I wouldn't say easier to sell, but it's just these extra bits of dream that people have when they're considering buying a ski property. Hot tubs work, fireplace, natural fireplace actually works very well, but it depends whether you're in an apartment or not. Ski rooms, lockups to be able to leave your stuff. Modern kitchens, modern style, some things that aren't on here at the moment, panoramic views, uninterrupted views, all those kind of things. If there's any kind of blockages to your view, etc., it just becomes less of what people dreamed of a ski holiday. I had a guy that called me the other day and he said to me, we went through his criteria and he said, "This is my dream," and then sent me pictures, and it was exactly like you'd imagine it would be. It was just the most amazing view. Could he get it for his budget? Possibly, but it kind of just simplifies people's desires and obviously what they want from their skiing. So if you can get any of these things that are kind of modern ski and ski out properties in dual season resorts, you're never going to be that far from a good investment. And then use a local rental management company. Professionals can help maintain high occupancy and guest satisfaction. Again, I won't go too much into this, but if you buy a ski property that is less than 5 years old, the benefit of doing it is that you can enter into a rental program that allows you to get 20% VAT off the asking price, like a rebate. And you can do that through a local agency, and then work with the agency to rent it out. Or you could just do a standard leaseback property, someone like MGM, for example, who will do all that for you. But most people, we had one development in Maribor recently where 99% of the people entered into a VAT rebate, so they all rented their properties out. So just to kind of reiterate, dual season, good location, amenities, and a nice modern property with a good developer means you're never going to be far from getting some good appreciation out of your property. As we move on, I think this one's interesting. Year-round living and seasonal access in mountain resorts. I think it was kind of this slide was kind of based a lot on post-COVID, and post-COVID has really, let me just see, I think we're going to talk post-COVID next time. Post-COVID really made people aware of what they wanted in terms of all the things that kind of COVID took away from us. So we didn't have any space. We kind of felt like we needed some fresh air. We wanted to be outside, all this kind of stuff. And that's exactly what the mountains offer, which is why post-COVID, we had a lot of people wanting exactly this: fresh air, exercise, space, memories, all this kind of stuff. So the year-round benefits of the mountain resorts are pretty self-explanatory. Lifestyle appeal, clean air, outdoor living, scenic beauty, attract retirees, remote workers and families. Remote workers is a really interesting one because obviously that opened up for a new kind of a new demographic of buyer that were allowed to kind of work from home, and then people just decided that they felt like they wanted to work from home in a ski resort. Why wouldn't you? Infrastructure, excellent schools, health service, high-speed internet and transport links. This is all, one of the times I went skiing, I think they gave us, I can't remember what it's called now, a toggle or something like that, which is the internet that you can carry around. The ski resorts have obviously cottoned onto this. More and more people are moving to France. A lot of my friends live in France, and they do need access to schools, health service, internet, which is fundamentally important to the way we live today, and transport links. And they're all now improving. As we said, we went back to that train link between Paris and Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne. So all that stuff is in abundance now. Some activities, again, are fundamentally important: hiking, mountain biking, climbing, paragliding, festivals. There's loads of stuff going on in the mountains at the moment in terms of healthy activities outside for kids, for adults. The wellness is a really big one for people at the moment. So being in the mountains to go to spas and onsens or whatever it is like that, that's a real driving factor for people in the mountains. So again, all these things, just if you can find resorts that have all these activities, plus the ski and ski out, plus all the things that I've mentioned, it's a really good place to purchase. Accessible considerations, transport links, obviously we know for France is Geneva, Lyon or Chambéry. We do get more of our inquiries for Geneva just because it's easy for international flights and accessibility to the places like Chamonix and Morzine, Leger, all those resorts at the top end of the mountain. Seasonal limitations, some smaller or higher altitude resorts may particularly shut in spring or autumn. Again, we are getting, because of the climate change, we get a lot, I'd probably say 8 out of 10 inquiries are people that want something that's over 1,600 meters. Somewhere like Val Thorens at 2,400 meters is maybe a little bit too high for summer, although they do have a good summer there. But anywhere around 1,600 meters seems to be people's demand at the moment. But if you look at the likes of Chamonix and Morzine, they're relatively low resorts, so that kind of puts that argument to bed a little bit. But they are special cases in those two resorts. But typically, people want something around 1,600 meters and a vast ski area. Climate factors, Lower altitude villages offer better year-round conditions, while higher altitude resorts guarantee snow. One of the things that may be a consideration for people at the moment in terms of getting in a decent price is maybe buying in a satellite resort that has access to a larger ski resort. If you take somewhere like Montalbert in the Paradis ski area, has really developed recently, and the price has gone up substantially, and that has easy access to the Paradis ski area where Les Arcs and Le Plan are. And there's a lot of options like that for people if they want to get in. As I mentioned earlier in the discussion, Aurel at the beginning of the the fourth of the three valleys. Again, slightly lower, but access to the biggest ski area in the world. So affordable and a good option for people. Inside knowledge. This is a good one. If you are considering buying a ski property, I won't go through this too much, but speak to people in the industry, like myself, I would have thought. There is always discussions internally about opportunities of new developments, infrastructure where things are being built, inside information. We find a lot of people just trying to make up their own information, and by the time they come to speak to an expert, they don't really have a real grip on what they can do, what they can't do, where there's opportunity. We are constantly speaking to people in the industry about where the opportunity is, what you kind of think is a good one, new developments that are coming, and just some really interesting information. Like, for example, in Maribel, they're going to stop new developments pretty soon, because there's no land left. So that will really benefit buyers or owners currently, because the only option is going to be to buy a resale property, which is going to drive the price up. So if you are interested in buying a property, speak to someone in the industry as soon as possible, get as much intel as possible. And don't forget, there are sometimes a lot of properties that are off market, or developments that are going through their permit stage, which is always really interesting, because sometimes you can be on the waiting list, be the first person to choose a new property in a new development, get the best price and the best location within the development, as long as you're on their mailing list to do so. That's a really good piece of inside knowledge for you. And as we kind of touched on earlier, we'll wrap it up soon. The post-COVID, I kind of went through this a little bit earlier, but I'll just kind of reiterate. Lifestyle shift towards nature and space and healthy living, remote work freedom, health and wellness appeal, and a diverse portfolio. The post-COVID, obviously everyone wants the space, the healthy living. That's what's driving a lot of people to the Alps still. And an extra one here is a diverse portfolio. Putting all your eggs in one basket doesn't seem to be the best idea at the moment. So having one ski property can certainly help that. When I worked in Asia, the 4 elements of people were trying to achieve for the high net worth individuals were a main residence, whether that be London or Hong Kong or Singapore, etc., a ski property, a beach property, and a boat. That was their diverse portfolio. So to be fair, I think probably everyone's trying to achieve that. But if you're close, well done. So my conclusion, ski homes in the French and Swiss Alps combine luxury living, investment potential, and access to year-round recreation with strong appreciation, limited availability, and strong demand. Plus robust rental demand in winter and now summer season, improved livability. Buyers today are not just acquiring a holiday home, they're making a lifestyle and financial investment. Let that be said before I move on, that the majority of people do still buy ski property for the lifestyle investment. If you can give me another place to compare with the Alps, I would struggle. So people are still making that lifestyle choice to want to be in the Alps. That said, understand local dynamics and working with professionals is essential to navigating the market smartly and profitably. I have been working in the industry for 10 years, so I know a lot of people and a lot of inside information. So it is important to speak to people if you are considering buying a ski property. But the conclusion is there is a lot of profit. Prices are going up. There is a lot of demand, and there is limited availability, but there are still some really good opportunities in some kind of undiscovered resorts that will move forward given time if you have the patience. There you go, Richard.
Very good, very good. Thank you. Yeah, we've got a couple of questions. I just want to ask you quickly. This dual season. Well, it's not a concept; it's happening. What things make a resort more of a dual season? What sort of facilities, amenities? I mean, I'm thinking of my neighbour's actually a huge mountain biking family.
Yeah,
and they go out to, I think it's Châtel they go to.
Like, yeah, around the area is really good.
As much as they can, and they will go out there and they take mountain bikes. They go over in one of these combi vans, and in fact they do that more than they ski. So I'm thinking you've got your mountain biking, and the lifts presumably in those areas are adapted, or they can accommodate bikes and things. So that's quite an important thing.
Yeah, instead of sitting on the chairlift with your skis, you just basically park your bike on the back of the chairlift, and then you go up on the chairlift the same. So it's pretty much the same concept, just with mountain bike. Mountain biking was like the first one, like, because obviously you have the mountains already, but it's the industry is changing to the point that it's all about the nature, really. It's not necessarily about the mountain bike. People just want to be in nature. Like, for all the people that we speak to, the wellness part of it, the spas, the jacuzzis, the healthy living, all that stuff is becoming such an interesting topic of conversation, to the point that actually the PR behind ski resorts has been fantastic, because although there's a lot of discussion on climate change, it's kind of diluted a little bit, because so many people are buying properties without even the need to go skiing. They're looking just to be in the mountains, or they just want to go mountain biking, or they want to jump in the river, or they want to be near a lake, or they just want to go walking, or they want to breathe fresh air, or they want to go somewhere that they don't have an iPad and the kids are outside. So skiing is obviously still very much demand. You can tell by the rates that people pay for skiing holidays and the income that the resorts generate, but it is thinning out a little bit now, and people want, say, a typical couple, someone might want to go just for the summer, someone might want to go just for the winter. It's very common just to want to be in nature now.
Yeah, and a lot of these new, I mean, it's not a new concept, but the new developments now, MGM, people like that are building. They've got spas, they've got bars, they've got communal areas. It's a whole sort of
it's
amenity.
fundamental, to be fair. Yeah, it's fundamental. And to be fair, and if not, then resorts then provide it. If you go to kind of Maribel, they've got the swimming pool, they've got the golf course, they've got the gyms. So you don't necessarily have to have it. It's great to have it on your doorstep. But all these resorts are providing. I was in Maribel September time. I think it was September, October, and all the kids were on the pump tracks, on their mountain bikes. Just, it's a hive of activity. I mean, I went to Morzine a few years ago in the summer, and I could not believe how many people. There was concerts going on, and people flying down on their mountain bikes, and the luges, and yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah,
I think I wrote an article once about golf courses in ski resorts as well. I mean, that's something you get in some of them. So it's,
but I mean, also playing golf in that environment is stunning.
Wow, it is, isn't it?
Stunning. Yeah. So it is evolving, and all the infrastructure within the resorts is also evolving. So all these things are getting a lot more accessible. I think the things that are maybe struggling a little bit is finding parking spaces in these places where there's a lot more development. But a lot of the authorities that run the resorts are putting a stop on too much new development. We are getting to a stage now where there's there's not many new development opportunities in the real flagship resorts. The opportunities are more in resorts that are slightly unknown, which is quite difficult for people to see because it's not what they're used to, because it's not where they went on a ski holiday. And most people buy from their dreams or where their heart is. So if you've been to the Three Valleys for the last 10 years and then say, I want to buy there with 400,000 euros, you've got no chance. Too expensive. Yeah, so you're going to have to consider places that are a bit more upcoming if you want a 2 or 3 bedroom property.
What is a sensible budget at the moment? If you want a two bed, let's say a 2-bed apartment. So it's basically a pad for skiing from. You can go and do your 2 weeks every year, rent it out. It's rentable for the rest of the season, and you're maybe not ski out, but 10-minute walk to a lift, and then you've got a big skiing area. Let's say top 5.
I think at the moment, if you just it might be a bit low, it might be a bit
a resale. Yeah,
if you put something together around 10 to 15, I tend to work the other way. If you put something together around 10 to 15,000 euros a square meter, that's kind of affordable. You kind of work it backwards in terms of what you want. So let's, for example, you wanted a 50 square meter property at 10,000 square meters. It's going to cost you 500,000. That's pretty much it. Then we find the resorts that actually have that adaptability to go, okay, this is something you can afford. As I said before, if you're looking at somewhere like Maribel, you're not going to find anything at 10,000 euros a square meter. But if you went to somewhere like Maribel Monterey, or you went to Les Alous, or you went all the way down to Brie-le-Ban, maybe you could. But that's generally not what people want. So they still want the ski in, ski out. So if you look at places like La Toussière, as I said, you could probably get it for 10,000 euros a square meter, but it will give you ski in, ski out, or really good access. But it's, it's up and coming. It doesn't have the prestige of Maribel or Val Thorens or Courchevel, etc. So if you're looking for an investment, I'd probably say that they were the best places to consider. They're the ones that are going to have the biggest appreciation over the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, their time will come. So really, it's about talking to people like you, Mark, and knowing where these little untapped gems are that can't still offer access to skiing. You might not be right on the main lift, but you've got access to it. And you're somewhere that's got it's got growth potential.
There's always places that kind of come up. As I said, it needs to meet your criteria in terms of whether you want an outright purchase or a leaseback property, what you want on your ROI, when you're going to use it, how often you're going to use it. There's so many kind of permutations to kind of fit someone into that when you kind of, sometimes it doesn't work and you go, well, you just can't do it, or we need to consider this. So there's a lot of variables. It's important to speak to people that kind of know what they're doing, because they will be able to help. I've had many conversations this morning with people just about ski property, and there was a kind of a lack of understanding of what you can and can't do. And then once you've spoken to them, they go, okay, now I kind of get a little bit more about what I can and can't do. It's important before you start looking at all the properties online and going, I'd like this, I'd like this, I'd like this. It might not work for you.
Yeah. Talking of questions from people, we've got some from Peter here. He's got 3 questions actually, but let's start with the one about the Olympics. 2030, the Winter Olympics is going to be in French Alps, I believe. He's asking simply which resorts, which areas should be affected in terms of prices. I guess
I think I looked at this the other day. I was going to do a webinar on the Olympics and the amount of appreciation. I think that there was something ridiculous, like the figures were insane in terms of how much these places appreciate. Peter, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I can't remember exactly which resorts the ski area is in, but what I do know is that anyone that was investing coming up to the ski resorts, in terms of what you can get for your what you get now and what you can get for your money, the important thing that I came to the conclusion is that the resorts that the Winter Olympics is in, it is fundamental to them to make a good impression, which means they are going to spend money on infrastructure. That is the most important thing. If you go to any of these big resorts that have where the Olympics was, the chairlifts are good, the bubble lifts are good, the infrastructure is good. This is where people tend to buy. You know, it's super important. So coming up
Of
to
course,
it,
it
there is.
gets on the TV, doesn't it, for a few weeks?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just,
yeah.
it's just
But
a bit
that's Richard. That's the short-term gain of the
yeah,
ROI you can rent out. But the long-term bit is that they will pump money into that resort for infrastructure to make it more accessible for people, and that will be the long-standing thing. That when you do your appreciation or buy your property in these areas, that's where you will get your capital appreciation because you're in these resorts that have had a lot of money spent on them.
yeah. And presumably, the thinking is if you get in now in these places, you're going to benefit from
Yeah, because
capital appreciation.
The marketing behind it is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if this is linked to that. Maybe it is an area that Peter has identified as being involved with the Olympics. He said, can you comment on it? I think it's Bosel or Bosel, Bozel.
Yeah,
I think
no,
it's in
not
the
really.
Savoie region.
Yeah, not really up our street in terms of demand. Certainly can do some research for him, but it's not really. I don't think we get many inquiries in that area.
No, so it could be somewhere that's it could see interest.
Yeah, of course. I think all these places, again, it kind of comes back to where is the demand? Is infrastructure being put into the resort? What are the links to the bigger resorts? How accessible is it from the airport? All those kind of things. It's kind of a bit of a tick box. One of the other things as well is the developer. Bear in mind. So whether it's the guy was kind of speaking about is whether there's the experience from the developer as well. If it's a first-time developer, I'd always be a little bit wary because then you're paying for their potential mistakes. I'm not so sure they're going to make mistakes, but developers, in my experience over the last 25 years, improve as they get further. So it's always important just to kind of do a bit of a background check and see if the quality of the property is good, especially in these new resorts. But yeah, as I said, if infrastructure is good, access to a large ski area is good, height is good, all the things that we've mentioned in the discussion today, then I'd say that was a pretty good thing. There is still opportunity in these kind of smaller resorts, but it'd be an interesting one. I'll do some research and maybe he can message me and we can have a bit of a discussion about it.
Okay. He's just said actually it's 15 minutes drive from Courchevel, so it's certainly in an area that's already well and truly on the international radar. Okay, I've got time for one more. It's about mortgages. How do UK mortgages compare to French mortgages for Alpine properties? I mean, what sort of deals are available, and I guess how easy is it?
Loads of deals. What I would say, as I am kind of like the specialist in ski stuff, you can either contact me or I'm sure Richard knows someone. There are specialists in mortgages, and we can give you a very kind of general feedback on the mortgages. But it's my advice that you speak to a broker that has access to all of the banks, which means they can give you all the variety.
Right. Okay, I'm getting nudged virtually here because we are over time, and I know there's another webinar due to start. So thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in, whether that's live or you're watching a recorded version. Like Mark said, if you've got other questions, you can come back to us and email us, and we'll make sure they get to Mark and get your answers. Thank you very much, Mark, for giving up time this afternoon. Appreciate that. Let's pray for plenty of dumps and a fabulous 25-26 winter season. Like you said, skiing is still the main appeal there. So fingers crossed for a good season. Final request: if you found this webinar useful, the team here would really appreciate it if you left us a review on the review website Trustpilot. There's normally a link pops up at this point. There it is. You can get to the website there. I also have a save the date for you, which is the Your Overseas Homes Comprehensive virtual event, which is on the 4th of October this year, running from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. It's basically an event that takes place virtually on a web-based platform, and we have agents, lawyers, currency experts, anyone who you need when you buy a property or move abroad will be available to chat to you in real time on their virtual booth. And there'll be webinars or seminars a bit like this as well that you can tune into and listen to people like Mark. And you can do all that from the comfort of your own sofa, because you can just log in on your laptop, on your computer, and attend that way. You can register for free as well. There's a link there. Excellent. So you can do that today or whenever, before the 4th of October. Otherwise, that's it from us. Thanks again, Mark. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in.
No worries.
Good luck with your search for a ski home. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Thank you.